Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to welcome you to Temple Beth Sholom. I wish we were gathered here, to listen to a testimony of something wonderful that happened to our people, but we're here to do the opposite. Fortunately, I believe that after we experience this tonight, we will be uplifted by Shai's words. Before we go into our speaker and to Megan from the Federation who's going to introduce him, I want to share a story that came across my computer today. Actually, I was in Israel a week and a half ago, and we met a young rabbi who works at Machane Shufa, which is basically the place where they take the fallen soldiers of Israel after they fall in battle. And, we exchanged emails, and we became friendly. A young man was born in England, and he's 30 years old, and he's already a rabbi experiencing some of the most difficult moments in the history of our people. He sent me a note about a story that happened with Ohad Munder. If you don't remember who Ohad Munder is, he's a 9-year-old boy that plays Rubik's Cube that was released in the first night of the ceasefire by the Hamas terrorists. And now that things are calming down for some of the hostages, they're beginning to tell their story. And Ohad told an incredible story to his family, and then it was shared with the rest of the world. He says that they were constantly moved around by Hamas. And in one of the homes where he was staying at one point, they put him together with another young Israeli boy. And the other boy said to him, "Are you Ohad Munder?" And he says, "Yes, how do you know?" He says, "Well, because I saw you on TV." He said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, where I was before, they had a TV, and I saw that it was your birthday, that you just turned 9 years old, and that you're a fan of Hapoel Beersheba." So Ohad told the story when he came out. And, it's an incredible story because after that happened, of course, the whole team of Hapoel Beersheba, it's a soccer team, came to see him, and the coach told him he can come to all the practices and to all the games. But it's incredible that in the depth of sadness, captivity, and despair, 2 young Israeli boys found each other and managed to find a moment of calm to speak about something as mundane as football or soccer for you. This is the spirit of our people. And as harsh and as horrible as what happened is, this brutal enemy will not put us down. The Israel that I experienced a week and a half ago is the most united Israel I've seen in my entire life. And I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Please, for all of us who are living moments of despair, I beg you, concentrate on the unity of our people. We will survive this. It will be okay. Am Israel Chai. Megan? Oh, DJ.
Please rise and join us in Hatikva. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefateg mizrach kadima Ayin Letzion Sophia Od lo avda tikvatenu Hatikva bat shnot alpayim Liotam chovshi Be'artzenu Eretz Zion Verushalayim Liotam Chovshi Be'artzenu Eretz Zion Verushalayim may be seated.
Good evening. I'm Megan Weintraub, Chief Philanthropy Officer at Jewish Nevada. We are now on day 53 of the worst time in our people's history since the Holocaust. And while there continues to be much darkness, our Nevada community has given me so much hope and brought light to this dark time. It is the most simple part of our organization's mission to ensure the vibrancy and continuity of Jewish life in Nevada and Israel. On October 7th, Jewish Nevada and federations across the country mobilized immediately to raise dollars to support our strategic partners on the ground, providing for critical immediate and long-term needs of the people of Israel. In the last 53 days, Jewish Nevada has raised an incredible $682,000 for our Israel Emergency Fund. 100% of these dollars are being sent directly to 8 of our strategic partners. Collectively, across the country, the Federation system has raised an astonishing $700 million to support Israel. If you're interested in more details on our efforts or would like to make a donation, please find me after the program or visit jewishnevada.org/Israel. Today, day 53 of this war, we are relieved that 85 total hostages have come home and anxiously await more information about this fluid situation. We continue to pray for the 159 remaining in hostage and ask that you join us in lighting an extra Hanukkah next week during the holiday in solidarity for those who cannot light one this year. This evening, we will hear just one of the thousands of stories of survival that must be heard. Shai Weinstein is 26 years old and grew up in Toronto, Canada. Last spring, he visited Israel and fell in love with the country, like we all do, and made Aliyah about 6 months ago. Living in Tel Aviv and working as a photographer, Shai bought a last-minute ticket to the Supernova Music Festival with his cousin and a friend. This was the first time he ever attended a music festival.
There's technical difficulties. I hate that I'm here to share with you what I'm here to share with you. I wish it was for something more positive. But thank you all for being here, coming to see and hear what I have to show you, and bear witness. It means everything to me. My name is Shai Klein Weinstein. I was born in Toronto, Canada. This past April, I went to Israel on a vacation and didn't come home. I decided to stay and make Aliyah. I've been living in Tel Aviv. On October 7th, myself and several friends, my cousin, decided to go to the Supernova Music Festival. We knew of it in advance, and I had no intention initially of going. But a good friend of mine decided that she wanted to go. And that was my motivator to buying a ticket. Upon arriving at the festival, I was expecting dirty, gross music I don't enjoy, people I don't know and I don't want to talk to. I was expecting to be there from 1 a.m. until 4 in the afternoon the next day, bored and miserable, waiting to go home, waiting to sleep. That was not the case. October 7th, up until 6 a.m., was probably some of the most fun I've ever had since moving to Israel. Upon arriving at the festival, we're immediately met with lights and the sound of the music. We're immediately met with lines of cars in the parking lot. We get into the festival ground where we're meeting our two friends who have already arrived and are waiting for us there. We arrive around 2 a.m. Myself, my cousin, and 6 other people. There's a total of 8 of us. We get to the festival ground, we get our tickets checked, we get our wristbands, and we enter the festival ground and we see everybody and their camps set up and the paths in between. We hear people laughing, people talking, people being happy, like you are at a festival. An overwhelming sense of love and joy, people kissing, people smiling. One of the most positive environments I've ever been in. Nothing like what I expected. If you've ever been to a music festival, you know what some of those first feelings you had were at your first festival, or a concert, or anything adjacent to those. Excitement, eagerness, nervousness, anxiousness, adrenaline, maybe even afraid a little bit. Looking forward to seeing those bands or DJs or whoever's there. Looking forward to having a good time with your friends. Looking forward to it being over so you can go home and relax and eat and talk about what fun it was you had and how you can't wait for the next one. Me too. But that wasn't the case. It was some of the most fun that I've ever had. But that's not what we got to do after the fact. We get to the festival ground, we set up our stuff, we say our hellos, now we're ready. We enter the festival ground. We're met with the main stage on the right, a large Buddha statue. Another small stage on the left called the mushroom stage. And then in between, there's the bars. There's a market for people to sell whatever crafts they've brought to sell: clothes, bags, jewelry, jackets, shoes, bags, more, so on and so forth. There's a tent for people to do art, painting canvases, or shirts, shoes, bags, whatever, you name it. An outlet to be creative. In the back, there's a safe zone, somewhere people can go if they've drank too much, took too much, or felt unsafe. They can put themselves there with other people and just take a break. This is what the festival, this is what the main stage was like for us. This video that I'm about to show you was filmed around 5 a.m. It was incredible. It was more than I could have ever asked for. It was something else. I lack the words to describe how I felt at that moment, dancing with my friends in that environment. It wasn't gross like I expected. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't full of people I didn't like. If anything, I left with more friends than I arrived with. As the night's progressing, I struggled to keep up with Israelis at a party. It's not something I can do. I'm from Canada. So I tell my cousin I'm going to take a break. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to take some photos because I have my camera with me. I want to take photos and meet people and create some memories that I'm going to remember so I can look back on and say, wow, that was awesome. What a great first time. And that's what I do. I make my way through the festival ground where I meet Dor and his girlfriend Lali. Dor wasn't at the festival just to enjoy himself, although no doubt he did. He was there working. He had a booth. He's a masseuse, something you could really benefit from after dancing for 6 hours. I only approached Dor to take his photo. Because I saw his white coat, and I thought, oh, this guy is really stylish. He must be cool. And I was right. He was very cool. He and his girlfriend Lali were happy to talk and share with me what they were doing there and talk with me about what it was like. I asked for some advice for the next time I go to one of these festivals. I asked them if I could take their photo because I thought they were a really cute couple. And they were more than happy to allow me to do so. I take their photo, I say my goodbye, and I carry on. I make my way further into the festival ground, towards the market. That's where I meet Dor and Shai. My conversation with Shai only consisted of our shared name. Both Shai and Dor were there, working, selling jewelry. My conversation with Dor mostly consisted of how long has he done this for, selling jewelry at these festivals. Did he make it? No. He worked with his brother. His brother is the one who made the jewelry, and he came to these events to sell it. We spoke about music and our shared love for music. He's a musician. He plays the guitar. Most of our conversation revolved around what Dor and his brother did and how much he appreciated working with him and how his brother wasn't present at the festival that day. I asked to take their photos. They're happy to let me. I get their information, their social media. I tell them I'll send it to them after the festival. And I carry on. I make my way to the arts tent. I think that's a place where I can find like-minded people like myself, other artists. I'm a photographer, different medium, same idea, same creative mind. It's there I meet Jessica, Jesse, and Itamar. Jessica is an incredible tattoo artist. She's an incredible artist. She was painting a canvas. Itamar is an incredible graphic designer and artist. Jessie, I unfortunately can't remember what she does, but she is also an artist. And we spoke lots, and I tried my best to take their photo in the poor lighting conditions. And I think even though it's not a perfect, beautiful photo, it's still perfect to me and captures how I felt at that moment engaging with them. After talking with them and spending a little time at the arts tent, I continue on. I make my way further into the festival ground, where I meet Shani, Noah, and Arik. For no other reason other than being asked, I take their photo, and I'm happy to oblige because they are all smiles and they are absolutely lovely people. I get their information and I tell them I hope to see you again. Hard to see on the right, but this is my friend Barak and his girlfriend Almog. Barak and my cousin Mordecai are very into these type of festivals. This is a psy-trance festival, a psychedelic trance music festival. All about love and peace and togetherness and every feeling and word you can put adjacent to those. Because of Barak and my cousin Mordecai, we were all there at that festival. They organized this little outing of ours, and I'm glad they did. This photo is taken around the same time as that first video you saw, around 5 a.m., just before sunrise, just at sunrise. I simply take Itamar's photo because I like his sweater. Nothing more, nothing less. I think it's a really nice sweater, and I ask him to take his photo. He is apprehensive at first, but he lets me. As we carry on throughout the night, through the morning, my friends leave the main stage. They leave the Buddha stage, like you saw in the very beginning, and they go and take a break. At this point, I'm still walking around taking photos. I text my friend Ellie, "Hey, I'm ready to take a break." "Where are you?" She says, "I'm waiting for you at the main stage." So I go to meet her there so we can go together to see our friends. I get to the main stage, and as you can imagine, at a festival with a capacity of 4,000 people, there was 3,500 there. At the main stage, it was quite crowded. And if you're looking for one person, you know that's probably a challenge. So I hop on a FaceTime call with her. I'm like, "I'm here," and I show her the speakers to my left. "Where are you?" And she says, "I'm here," and shows me the speakers near her. And it's a bit of back and forth with that. But eventually I find her. Only the reason I find her is because rockets are intercepted overhead by the Iron Dome. And for those of you who aren't fully aware of what the Iron Dome is, it's a rocket system, a counter-rocket system that calculates the trajectory of incoming projectiles and fires a missile to intercept it, blowing it up out of the sky. One thing you don't get from social media and the news is what that's like in person. You see the video of it exploding in the sky and you go, "Wow, that's crazy." What you don't get is the sound that comes after it, the sound of the rocket exploding 10 or 15 seconds later if you're in Tel Aviv. Where we were, it was almost immediate. What you don't get is the feeling of the air vibrating around you as the rocket explodes above our heads. As these rockets are exploding hundreds of meters above us. So that's what causes me to find my friend. The rockets exploding overhead causes the music to stop, everyone to stop dancing and look at the sky in shock, because nobody's expecting rockets at this time. And it wasn't one rocket or two, like we often get in Israel. It wasn't 3 or 5. It wasn't 10 or 20. It wasn't 50 to 100. It wasn't 200. It was hundreds upon hundreds more, and hundreds after that. It was thousands of rockets. Rockets from both Gaza and the Iron Dome, hitting each other above our heads at such a quick rate, it sounded like the beat of a drum. So I find my friend Ellie, I grab her, I put my arm around her, I say, "Let's go, the party's over." We go towards the camp where our friends are. Many people do. We meet our friends, and there's an overwhelming sense of nervousness. Everybody is on edge. Everybody's anxious. Many people are not. At least on the outside. I don't know how they're feeling on the inside. So we get back to our camp, where our friends are, where my cousin Mordecai is, where my friend Yael and Dor are. Yael is on her phone, and she's reading names. Rishon LeZion, Ramat Gan, Tel Aviv, Kfar Aza, Sderot, Netivot, names of places with red alerts going off, names of places being struck by rockets. It's a lot of names. People at this point are leaving the festival ground, not in a panic, not running for their lives, not in terror, but people have started to leave already. Many people are taking their time. Many people, like my cousin, initially thought it's just rockets, they'll run out, the Iron Dome will catch them all, and either we'll continue to party or we'll all leave, A or B. This is part of a discussion we had. As you could hear, there's no rush. We're not in danger. We have no reason to think otherwise. No reason at all. We're not getting texts, hey, there's terrorists, run away. We're not reading the news about some sort of infiltration. We think it's just bad luck. We are where we are. At the same time, they decide to attack with rockets. But we think it's only rockets. I'm on edge the whole time. Not familiar, not used to rockets. That's a big first world problem, but that's the case. My first experience with rockets in Israel was in April or May on Tel Aviv beach. Rockets fired at us from Gaza. I'm on the beach with a friend. And I look at the rockets and I ask her, should we go? I'm already standing up. I'm already ready to go. And she says to me, wait. And we both look at the rockets and they're caught by the Iron Dome. And she says, no, we stay. A typical reaction for somebody who grew up in Israel, who grew up around this. You become desensitized to rockets, unfortunately. It becomes part of your life. You have no reason to think there's something coming after. So now everyone is getting ready to leave. Everyone's leaving. People are packing up. People are waiting around. But people are still smiling. People are still laughing. People are still joking with their friends. Nobody's scared. Nobody's running for their life. There's 8 of us at the campground, and what we had brought, you don't need 8 people to pack up. So I tell my cousin, while you guys pack up our things, I'm going to walk around. I'm going to walk around and help other people out if they need it, and take some photos. Because from my standpoint, I'm standing there with my camera, and I think it's really interesting to see people smiling, laughing, and joking with the chaos around them of people packing up to leave, with the rockets in the sky. So I take my camera, and I go. I tell my cousin, give me 20 minutes max. I meet Ori and Ivegni, all smiles, laughing and joking and talking amongst themselves, making breakfast. Totally chill. They don't need a hand with anything. So I just ask them for their photo, and as you can see, they're happy to have it taken. I carry on. I meet Odea and Ite. Odea was part of the security, not armed, so I can only assume she was there helping, making sure people stay safe amongst themselves, making sure nobody gets hurt or drinks too much or anything like that. She was helping Ite close his canopy. I offered to give them a hand because they were struggling. I tell them the cost is just a photo, very cheap. I take their photo, and I carry on. I don't bother asking for their contact information because it doesn't occur to me. My cousin Mordecai, and beside him in the hammock, Ren Schaefer. He was in the hammock almost the whole time, only standing up when I asked him to take his portrait. We were talking about these festivals and what it was like. This wasn't his first or his fifth or his 10th or his 15th. He was very experienced with these festivals. He's part of a community that brought them to Israel. We asked where he lived. He told us he lived in a nearby kibbutz, Kibbutz Be'eri, where he lived with his 3 kids and his family. The whole time, Ran was calm, not nervous, not anxious, not a bead of sweat, nothing. Nothing even adjacent to those feelings. He's the kind of person you meet, and you exchange information with, and you know it's going to be impossible for you to lose his number because he's such a great guy, such a warm personality. The kind of person who you know you couldn't stop being friends with if you tried. After a period, I'm done taking my photos, I'm ready to go. Our things are packed up. And as we're getting sorted out, before we head to the parking lot, I hear off in the distance a sound from outside the festival ground. Not a sound from the DJs, not a sound from any cars, not a sound from any speakers or rockets. A very short sound, didn't last long, a very fast, sharp sound. A sound that I could only describe as machine gun fire. But faint, not very close to us, but close enough that I could just barely hear it. Now, I've never heard a machine gun fired. Not anything in real life, only in movies and video games. So I can only guess that's what that sound was. But upon hearing it, upon hearing the sound, it made me sweat. It made me on edge more than I already was. It made me feel sick. And I wanted to leave right that second more than I already did. So we make our way to the car. We make our way to the parking lot, which is right next to us because the fences have been pushed over. I ask my friends if they heard what I think I heard. Nobody's sure. Nobody knows. There's a lot going on. It could have been anything. But now I know it wasn't anything. So now we're in the parking lot, getting our stuff loaded up. That's where we meet Moti. He's making sure everyone's okay to drive, making sure people have their things, making sure people have water, whatever. Just making sure we're all okay. Moti arrived at the festival in a minibus driven by a Palestinian worker from Gaza. We say our goodbyes. We get our things. We start packing up the car. Before we get a chance to climb into the car, that's when gunfire erupts from the festival ground. That's when gunfire starts, and not only I hear it, but everybody hears it. That's when people start running away. That's when people start screaming. That's when people start leaving in terror. The sound of sustained gunfire, within 100 meters of us. So I throw my phone into the car, get our other belongings in, we all climb in, we're ready to go. We're in a small car, a sedan, 4-door, think Toyota. But there's 8 of us. Our other 3 friends are elsewhere. We don't really say goodbye, we'll see you here. We just all pile into the car, and now we're going. Now I'm driving, and I'm trying to get us out. Honking my horn, because I don't want to hit people, make things worse, because we're all in the same situation. Going as fast as I reasonably can, without going off the road or hitting people. Making my way towards the exit. Now, you may have seen photos or videos of the festival ground after the fact. You may have seen photos or videos of the exit, of all the cars burnt out and shot up, having tried to leave. That's where we were, stuck behind the traffic, stuck behind all the gridlock. Everyone trying to leave at the same time from the same place. Now, if you've ever been to a festival or a concert or a sporting event, you know when it's over, it's hard to leave. It's harder even so when people are leaving and fleeing for their life because there is people being shot and murdered less than 100 meters behind us. So I'm sitting in the back for moments, looking at all this traffic and feeling dread. And I tell my cousin, I don't care about these people, I don't know them, they're not in my car, I'm not driving them, they're not my friends, I want to get us out, and I want to get us out now. And he says to me, well, you have to care about them because they're our brothers and our sisters. And I don't respond. I just think to myself, you can't help your brothers and your sisters if you're dead. So I make the decision to just drive around everybody. I drive off the road. We're in a dirt parking lot, and it's a dirt path towards the dirt exit. So I drive off the road onto the rocky terrain of the Negev desert, around shrubs, around trees, around bushes, around rocks, up and down little hills, past everybody. I don't care. I'm not waiting. I want to get myself and my friends out because I don't care about anything else but the 5 people in the car that I'm driving. I drive as close to the exit as I can, and I can see the way out. I can see the road, but I can't leave. We're stuck behind 2 cars because to our left there's a hill that's too steep for ours to go up. And I'm holding onto the steering wheel with a white-knuckle death grip, my eyes pressed up almost right against it. And I'm starting to notice something. I'm looking around us, and I'm starting to notice about other cars. I'm looking at other cars, and I'm starting to notice that they're empty. Not all of them, but too many. People are fleeing their cars on foot. They're abandoning their cars in the middle of this traffic, abandoning their cars in front and beside and behind everyone else in this gridlock, trying to leave, making things worse for those behind them. The car in front of us had people in it, honking their horn and inching forwards as you do when the guy in front of you won't move. And I look through their windshield, I look through their car really close, and I see the car in front of them isn't even turned on. There's nobody in it, it's empty. And these people are so panicked, they're trying to get it to move, and it's not moving. So I tell my cousin to get out of the car, knock on their window, and tell them what's up. I have him tell them to drive off the road like we have, to go around the car in front of them, so we can follow suit. That's what he does, and that's what they do. They drive around and they leave, who knows where. We do the same. Now there's 2 ways we can go. We can go right down the main road, down the paved road, further south, the same way many other people are going. I look that way and I think everyone's going this way. I don't want to be in more traffic. I look to our left and the road's blocked by security forces. Blocked because that's the direction to Kibbutz Be'eri, where Hamas was massacring 80% of the population. Although we didn't know that. We saw officers telling us not to go that way, so we didn't question it. So our only other choice is to drive straight into an empty field. And that's what I do. Before we're even able to get lost in this field, before we're even able to make it 50 meters into this field, my cousin's girlfriend, Tamara, you saw her in that video in the white coat, screams for us to run, screams for us to leave the car and run now. Shai, Mordecai, Yael, Ellie, everybody run, get out now. Shai, get out. Because we're all being shot at. There's gunfire around us. Not at our specific car, but everybody in our direction is being shot at. So we run. We leave the car. All 5 of us on foot into this empty, dusty, barren field with nothing to hide behind. We run. We run and we hope. My friend Ellie and I are in the front. I remember she's in front of me and she's running, and I say to her, "Don't run too fast, you might trip." We eventually duck low to the ground, cowering, to avoid being shot. I'm holding on to her as tight as I can, so tight I feel like I might hurt her. My back to the festival, I look over my shoulder and I see my friend Yael, my cousin's girlfriend Tamara, doing the same, cowering, down low, to avoid being shot. Other people driving by us, people running on foot. And I look behind them and I see my cousin. I see his back as he's running towards our car to pick it up, because the way we left it was slowing down the flow of traffic, slowing down other people trying to flee as we have into this barren, empty field. So he runs back to the car, gets in the driver's seat and picks us up. Now I'm in the passenger seat and he's driving. I hate it because I don't want that responsibility on him. I want to be the one to bear it all, but I'm not going to start an argument over I want to drive, no you, that's so on, whatever. Not worth it. So now I'm in the passenger seat, he's in the driver's seat, the girls are in the back. And we're driving around. There's a forest off to our left, forest ahead of us. People are running off into them on foot. There's a small cliff in between the two. People climbing down the cliff to hide. The whole time I'm filming on my phone and I'm taking photos of the people around us. Because what else am I going to do when I'm in the passenger seat? I'm not driving. I can only help look for a way out, take photos and videos, taking photos and taking videos because something terrible is happening, and in case we die, I want there to be videos and photos of it. Everybody is now in a gridlock again because so many people have fled into the field. Everyone in the car beside us and around us exchanging confused looks like Or and his friend. There's no proper way to express yourself when your eyes meet somebody else's in a situation where you're running for your life. Just confusion as to what's going on. Confusion, but I think we all have a vague idea of what's going on. Still rockets overhead. They haven't stopped. We're driving around this field for what feels like hours. So much dust kicked up in the air, people's windshields are turning beige. It's becoming so hot in the car, we have to open the windows to breathe. We open the windows and we still can't breathe because now the car is full of dust. Our mouths are dry and our noses are black. Alternating between opening and closing the windows. Driving around looking for a way to go, we see a pickup truck fly across the field. So full of people, they're standing on the side, standing on the back. We can't drive across the field because it was irrigated. If you don't know what that means, it has deep cuts within it. Too deep for any four-door sedan like ours to be able to drive across without being stuck. So we're forced to drive parallel to this field and then around it, like many other people, and we're driving around into other fields. And then we see one field next to us and a space in the crops. I see green. trees or shrubs or something of that sort. I see rows of trees. Trees, 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 and a space. Trees, 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 trees. I have no idea what it is or where we are or what's beyond it. But I live in Canada. I grew up in Toronto, but I moved up to the north where there's farmland. I'm well aware that all farms are connected by service roads for the farm equipment to maintain them. So I see these crops, I see this space in the field, and I'm just hoping that it's a road. I tell my cousin to drive towards it on a whim, on a guess, on an assumption, without knowing, because where else are we going to go? There's no arguing. There's no if this or but this. Let's go here instead. I briefly suggest maybe we hide in the woods and then realize it's a bad idea. So we go towards the space in the trees, the shrubs, whatever you want to call it. Orange trees, if you want to be specific. We stop our car once to try and get other people on foot into our vehicle. They ignore us, and I can't blame them for ignoring us, given the situation. The moment you get in someone else's car, you're no longer in control. Your life is in their hands. So I can't blame them for not wanting to get into our car, although I wish they had. We make it to the space in the trees, and it is in fact a road. It is in fact a way out. We follow it, passing rows of orange trees. Every time we pass a row of orange trees, I think there's men waiting to shoot us. Every time we pass a row of orange trees or we turn a blind corner, I think we're going to die. I think there's people waiting to ambush us. And there were people waiting in the fields to ambush people, just not us. They didn't shoot us. Others were not so lucky. We're following this road, and it's only at this point in these fields, following this dirty road, only at that point do I learn we're even near Gaza in the first place. I only learn this because my cousin says, which way is east? And I ask why. He says because west is towards Gaza. When you go to a festival or a concert or a baseball game or whatever, you don't look at Google Maps and to see what's around you in the area. You don't try and see if there's enemies within kilometers of you. It's not a thought. It's especially not a thought at 2 a.m. when you're going to your first music festival. I tell him east is towards the sun, the way we're driving. We carry on along this dirt road, going through more fields. Eventually we meet a gravel road. This must mean we're going the right way. We follow it, 2 cars in front of us, around more blind corners, over and about down below hills. Every time we turn a blind corner or go over a hill, I think there's men waiting to shoot us. There isn't. Eventually we pass 2 men on bicycles, fleeing. We invite them into our car too, and they ignore us. We carry on. At some point, one of the 2 cars in front of us peels off to the right, and they park and they go behind a warehouse of some kind, presumably to hide. I don't know. I didn't really ask. That's what I saw, and that's where they went. Now us and the car in front of us are carrying along, and we're met with a road going right and left. Both us and them make a right. Not even 5 minutes of driving, they decide to make a U-turn, and they wave for us to do the same, and we begin to. But then we stop mid-turn and carry on the way we were going. This is the field we were in. Total chaos. No one knows where to go or what's going on. So now we're on a paved road. Now we're going somewhere. Don't know if it's the right way, but it's somewhere. Our Waze still doesn't work. Still no reception. We reach the first checkpoint. First thing they ask us, are you Israeli? Where are you going? Yes, we're Israeli. We're going to Tel Aviv. We tell them what we just left. We tell them there was an attack. They let us through. A couple more checkpoints like that. Same questions. Are you Israeli? Where are you going? Yes. Tel Aviv. We carry on. Again, since leaving the festival, up to this point, still rockets. It's not nonstop anymore because they probably have to reload, but there's still rockets. They haven't stopped. Now we're approaching the city of Netivot. Now we're starting to pass abandoned vehicles. As we're approaching the city of Netivot, other vehicles are passing us along the road. Other people are passing us, other civilian vehicles. Every time a vehicle passes us and goes back the way we came, my cousin is honking the horn, waving for them to turn around because they probably don't know what they're driving into. He's trying to help them. But the only thought going through my head this whole time is, there's men in that car waiting to shoot us, there's men in that car waiting to shoot us, there's men in that car waiting to shoot us. I think my cousin's honking is going to draw attention to us and get us killed, but I don't say anything because it's not worth mentioning. We approach the city of Netivot, start to see vehicles riddled with bullets, abandoned in the middle on the side of the road. Rockets overhead. We see an intersection where we think there's a checkpoint set up. In this intersection, we see vehicles abandoned on the side, vehicles riddled with bullets. We see IDF Border Patrol in the middle of the intersection. We think it's a checkpoint. We approach, and then we see that it's not. We see there's an ambulance. There's a member of the press reporting on what's going on. More rockets overhead. There's soldiers. We realize it's not a checkpoint. I tell my cousin to drive over the median and past it all. And if it is in fact a checkpoint, they'll stop us because they're soldiers and they have guns, and that's something that they can do. No one stops us. We pass by. We see ambulance workers crowded around somebody on the ground. We see a bunker with people peering out of it. We carry on, making our way towards Tel Aviv. Now our Waze works. Now we know where we're going. We're going towards Sderot. Past more abandoned cars, more cars riddled with bullets, crashed cars, cars with bodies instilled in them, cars with the doors open and the belongings all over the road. More rockets, more checkpoints, same questions. Where are you going? Tel Aviv. Are you Israeli? Yes. We see pillars of smoke off in the distance. We don't know what it is, but now we know that it's kibbutz under attack. Kibbutz, where people live in their homes being set on fire with them still inside them. Now we're on the highway. One of the first vehicles I spot on the highway as we pass it, a silver car facing the wrong way, facing towards us on our side of the road, off on the shoulder. A silver car riddled with bullets, with the driver still in the driver's seat, shot in the face. And I see this very clearly. The whole time I'm telling the girls in the back to keep their heads down. I'm passing around water. I'm telling my cousin what a good job he's doing driving. He's a hero. He's saving us. Mordecai, you're incredible. You're doing such a good job. Trying to freak out as little as possible. Still taking photos and videos while myself and my cousin's girlfriend help navigate. Telling my cousin to drive with his head low, as low as he can, while still looking over the steering wheel in case we're shot. We're starting to approach another cars, their belongings all over the road. We get closer, we see some of these cars have bodies in them. One of the cars has a body on the ground behind it. We freak out a little bit more, speed past it all. Now we're approaching another car. Another silver car, off to the side, off on the shoulder. And we see two figures next to this car. Maybe what I'm describing sounds familiar to you because maybe you've seen the video. We see two figures next to this car, and they're moving. They're moving their arms in the air like this. and like this, as if they want us to stop or slow down. And we approach this car and these men, and we get closer and we get closer and we get closer. And now we can see them clearly. Now we can make them out really well. I can tell you what they were wearing. Black balaclava masks over their heads, blue jeans, cargo pants, combat boots, black t-shirts, holding machine guns. One of the men with a tactical vest, the other without. Now we're parallel to them. My cousins slowed down for a brief moment just to comprehend what we're seeing. We're one car length away from these men. We're so close we can see their eyes through the holes in their masks. We can see the car next to them with the doors open. We can see into the car next to them. We can see in the driver's seat and the passenger seat of the car next to them 2 dead bodies, a man and a woman. We tell my cousin to drive now, drive fast, sa, go, go, go. He speeds off. One of the men raises his gun towards us but doesn't shoot. The other man turns around and we can see his hands are the color red with blood. Not even 200 meters away from these men, not even 200 meters away from all the bodies we've just passed, another car on the left side of the road, stopped, open, belongings all over the road. And from the shoulder on the left to the middle of the road, 1, 2, 3 bodies. We have to drive around them the best we can, but we still run over the legs. Not even a kilometer away, we think we're approaching a checkpoint. One of the trucks passes us and pulls up in front of us. We pull up alongside it. We tell them we have to get to Tel Aviv. We tell them we have to go through. They tell us to back up. It's not safe. There's terrorists hiding off in the bushes. I look ahead of us in the road, in between the other 2 vehicles, and I see 2 officers face down dead. There was just fighting, and we had missed it. We arrived just after, during a pause. They hadn't killed these men yet. They were still around. And upon learning this, I am even more on edge. We're all still freaking out after having seen what we just saw and approaching the situation we are now in. We tell them we have to go through because we're trying to get to Tel Aviv, and there's no other way to go because there's no possible way. We're going back past the dozens of bodies and those armed men. They let us through. They tell us to go fast, and we do. We do go fast, but the whole time we're driving by. The whole time I'm thinking, wherever these terrorists are, they're going to see our crappy little car with us, not soldiers, inside of it, and they're going to shoot us. And I think this for a good 5 minutes until we're well clear of it. And from that point on, all the way to Tel Aviv, the only thing we stop for is checkpoints. The only thing we slow down for is to go around abandoned cars and bodies. Given all of that, and the time it felt like we took, we got home to my cousin's apartment in Tel Aviv at 9:45 a.m. 9:45 in the morning, so fast, so early, people were still being executed out in the streets in the south of Israel, where we had just fled. But that's 5 of us. There was 8 of us. We still don't know where our friends Barak, Doraz, or Almog are. No one's answering our calls. No one's answering our texts. The next slide is a video of us approaching the city of Netivot, of the scene I described to you before approaching those armed men. The following slide is another video, the last video I'll show you. A video I took of the scene I just described to you on that highway, passing all of those bodies, passing those men. So if that's not something you'd like to see, you may leave or look away. That's what the end of my first music festival was like. It didn't end with me going home, laughing and joking with my friends. It didn't end with us talking about what a fun time it was we had and calling the people I had met to tell them how happy I was to have met them and to make plans again. It ended with us in my cousin's apartment, sad, crying, screaming, depressed, silent, trying to comprehend and trying to digest what we just experienced, trying to understand how it is we left such a fun event, driving past the dozens upon dozens of bodies, thinking our friends are dead, not getting calls or texts from Barak, Almog, or Doraz, not hearing anything from them, not hearing anything from their friends, not hearing anything from their families, nothing. That's how we spend the rest of our day. Only late that night, or early the next morning, I don't know, it's all blended together, do we find out they're okay? Do we find out they're alive? Do we find out they're alive because they had hid in a bush for over 6.5 hours while Hamas hunted people? For 6.5 hours while Hamas was so close to where they were hiding, they could hear them talking. For 6.5 hours, laying so still, Almog has nerve damage in her leg. Hamas was so close they could tell us there was over 10 men around them. That's how close they were. So now we're home, safe. All of our friends have come to join us and take care of us, having lost their minds after hearing what happened and realizing where we were. Our families have come over to watch after us, to cook for us, to care for us. All of my friends are okay. And now what I'm most concerned about is the fact that I might have 3 rolls of film with photos of people who have been murdered. And I can't develop it until Monday. So Saturday, Sunday, now it's Monday. I take my photos to be developed, scanned. I post them all over Facebook, all over social media, to whatever group I'm in Tel Aviv, in Israel. Do you know these people? I met them at the Supernova Festival. We escaped. I want to make sure they're okay. Please, if you know them, have them reach out to me or tell me. Within hours, I'm getting dozens upon hundreds of messages and comments. Hey, I know them. That's my brother. That's my sister. That's my cousin. That's my friend. That's me. That's my son. That's my daughter. So on and so forth. I'm starting to learn whether or not people are okay. I find Dor and his girlfriend Lali. I find out they're okay. I learned that they escaped the festival in his Jeep with their two friends, Alex and Gilad. At one point, Alex got separated from them, and I learned from Dor that Alex was kidnapped into Gaza, where he still is, and they don't know where. Their friend Gilad was shot in the head. The three of them fled. They fled to a kibbutz where they thought they'd be safe. They fled to kibbutz Be'eri, thinking they'd be safe, only to learn Hamas was there, executing people in their homes, burning them alive. They fled their Jeep, the three of them, Gilad bleeding from the head, and they hid in a public washroom while Dor held it shut with his own hands, while Gilad was bleeding out around them. They hid there for hours and hours while Hamas massacred people around them. But they were saved, and Gilad survived. Dor, Lali, and Gilad survived, unharmed physically, except Gilad. But he's alive. I learned Shai escaped. She was safe. But Dor was murdered. Only upon learning he had been killed from his family did I cry. Only then did I cry, because I realized it wasn't his girlfriend or his mom or his dad or his brother or anybody he loves and cares about. It was none of them to have last engaged with him, to have last seen him smiling and being happy. It was me. And I hated that that was a moment that I got and not somebody he cared about. Jessica, I learned she survived as well. She was saved by a man in a white van. He rescued her and over 15 other people and brought them to a police station where she told me she witnessed the arrest of 6 terrorists. She told me some of these men were our age. I'm 26. I'm here talking to you in a similar format that Holocaust survivors go to high schools to talk to teenagers, except I'm a 26-year-old talking to you all about how me and my friends, also the same age, were attacked at a festival full of other people our age by men with machine guns, grenades, RPGs, and knives our age. I found out Itamar and Jesse also survived. They escaped and they're alive. Every time I learned one of these people that I met and that I engaged with, that I photographed, was alive, it made me feel a bit less hopeless. It made me feel a little bit better. Because that's one more person I don't have to think about being dead. I found out Shani was alive. She was okay. She was in a car with some friends, not the ones pictured. They were fleeing down the road when 3 vans approached them and men opened fire on their car. Her and her friends ducked down and sped past these vans, escaping, alive. Recently, there was a video put out, a CCTV video, where you see Hamas gunmen executing some girls in the road and people fleeing around them on foot. In one of these videos, you see a white car in the background and somebody leaving the car, running, tripping and falling over and getting up to continue to run. That's Noah. I see she shares this video on her social media and says that it's her. And I ask her, is that really you? I can't believe it. I thought you were with Shani. She says, no. That's her in the background fleeing for her life while people are being executed less than 100 meters away from her, while Hamas is less than 100 meters away from her murdering people. Noah, Shani, and Arik all survived. They escaped. You know what happened to my friends Barak and Almog? Itamar survived as well. Not before he was shot twice and watched his friends die, but he survived. Ori and Ivegni also survived. Ivegni went right to his Miluim service less than 2 weeks later. But they were both okay. Hodaya was one of the first people I found who I continue to talk with even today. And I'm incredibly glad she's alive because she is an incredibly sweet person. In Israel, north of Tel Aviv, about 30 minutes away, just around Herzliya, there's a place called Havat Ronit. It's an event venue where people get married, except now it is called the Supernova Safe Zone. It is a place where people who are present at the festival can gather together and give each other support, where people can gather together and receive free therapy in many forms. There's therapists, there's counselors, there's sound healing, there's free food, there's even massages, which I have taken advantage of very much. It's there I met Ite, and I found out he was alive, and I asked him if he had heard from Hodaya, if they had spoken at all, and I learned he wasn't even aware she survived. He thought she was dead, and he didn't believe me at first until I showed him the conversation on my phone between the two of us. Only then did he believe me, and he was over the moon, and I hugged him like I had never hugged anyone before. All of these people I have shown you so far, I have met, I have seen, I have hugged, I have exchanged stories with, and I still talk to. My cousin Mordecai is obviously alive. He drove us away. Ren Schaefer is not. He was murdered. He was found dead in the woods. Only later on did I learn from his family he was from Kibbutz Be'eri, and I was too afraid to ask if his family there was okay because I didn't want to know. I was too afraid to ask in the off chance that they were not in fact okay. It killed me enough to know that once again, this person who I laughed with, who I saw smiling and happy, had died. And myself and my friends were the last people to see and witness it. Not somebody he loves and cares about, not his wife, not his kids, not his grandkids, not his niece, not his nephew, or whoever. Us, strangers. I hated that. I hate it. Both him and Dor, I've printed off their photos, and I've given them to their families because it is the bare minimum that I can do. Moti survived as well. He and a group of over 20 other people fled on foot to the site of Midburn being held in the area. If you don't know what Midburn is, think Burning Man in Israel. They ran for over 5 hours on foot before they were rescued by the people at the location of Midburn who are setting up. I even managed to find Or and his friend, alive and well. Of everybody that I met, of all the photos that I captured, of all the people that I engaged with, 3 rolls of film, 36 photos each, only 2 people had been killed that I met. Everybody else had survived. And every time I saw one of them, every time I hugged one of them, I felt a little bit better, a little bit more hopeful. The festival had a capacity of 4,000 people. 4,000 people. There was probably around 3,500 people there. People had already started leaving when the rockets began. More people had already left by the time the gunfire started. We were in the parking lot at 7:41. We were passing those armed men at 8:45, and we were home safe at 9:45 in the morning. That's getting it lightly. That's getting off easy. Many other people did not. Many other people had it far worse. They hid, listening to people get murdered and brutalized around them. Once again, by people our own age. Some of these men barefoot or in flip-flops, carrying Kalashnikovs. Events like this leave a lasting impact on those who were there. It leaves an impact on those who know someone who was there. It leaves an impact on the community of those who were there, whether or not you know them. But events like this, unfortunately, also bring us together as we are now. Events like this show us how much support we have. There's a lot of hate. A lot of people hate us. A lot of people hate anybody who lives in Israel. And it seems like more people hate us than ever before, but that's just because everybody has a cell phone and they can share every thought that pops into their head. But the reality is, we have more support now than ever before from within our own community and from the outside. We have more support than ever before from each other, from strangers, from other communities. And that's something we can't forget with all the hate that surrounds us, with all the hate that's much louder. But that's all it is, louder. But just because you're loud doesn't mean you're right. You can be passionate about something, even if it's the wrong thing. And so now, right now, we'll get through it. We have each other. We have to be there for each other. We have to be there for ourselves. You have to take care of yourself so you can take care of each other, so you can take care of your community. Because it's something we have to do. It's something we have done, and it's something we will continue to do as a community, as Jews. Many of you here today are Jewish. I have no doubt there's at least one of you here who's not. Many of the other places I've gone to speak to, I've had a predominantly Jewish audience. But many times, much of the audience is not Jewish, just comprised of people who support us and want to be there for our community. People who see what's going on and they want to help in some manner. They want to know how to help. And one of the things I tell them, one of the best ways I tell them they can help is to just exist. Just be there and make sure that everybody else knows you're there and knows that you support them and that you are there for them. That's one of the best ways you can help. It doesn't have to be financially. And if it does, if you do want to help financially, there are ways you can donate that don't involve anything government or military. You can donate that helps pay for people's mental health care, because God knows everybody who lives south of Tel Aviv and north of Tel Aviv needs it right now. And not myself or my cousin or my friends or anybody else I've met from the festival or the kibbutz have paid for a therapist or a psychiatrist or anything adjacent to those. Because it's paid for, it's covered. other people paid for it, because they care, because they want to support us. And in my opinion, that's one of the best ways you can support us, if your support and your acknowledgement is not enough for you. In Israel, when you go to the beach, no one's there. Most people are either at work or in their Miluim service or volunteering. There's people volunteering to rescue dogs from the kibbutz. There's people volunteering to harvest the crops. There's people volunteering to be with the kids whose families were murdered or kidnapped. There's people volunteering at the expo center to pack up goods for the families to help them, goods donated by people in the US and other countries. Everybody is doing something. But one thing people are not doing is just sitting at home in the darkness, crying and being sad for 53 days. Because then they win. Then Hamas wins. You don't have to be killed for them to win. Stopping your life is letting them win. It's okay to be sad and devastated over what occurred. We all are. But because of what happened, we have to continue. We have to continue to support each other and spread our love and stay united. We have to continue to have fun and laugh and go out for drinks with our friends and go to cafes. Because if we don't, they win. And they're not going to win. I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for being here tonight, for being here to see and hear what I have to share with you. As difficult as it is, it's incredibly necessary. Because when you see these things on social media, when you see these things on the TV, on the news, and you turn it off, it's gone. You're disconnected. So I'm here to remove that disconnection. I'm here with you now, instead of being in Israel with my friends who I love, with my family who I love, with my friends who I escaped the largest terror attack in the history of the country with. I'm here. I refused 2 rescue flights back to Canada because I wanted to be with them, and I'm still here. I'm only here because I know sharing this with you and with everybody else I've already spoken to, everybody in New England, everybody in Pennsylvania, everybody in Boston, everybody in New York, everybody in Montreal, everybody in Toronto, helps. I don't have to be in the IDF to help, to contribute. So I want to thank you all for your support and your love and your presence, because it means more to me than anything. It means the absolute world to me, you being here. So truly, thank you. Am Israel Chai.
I wanted to know you're not alone, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me here and helping me do this.
Look, on behalf of all of us, Shai, you're not alone. Every single one of us is with you. We're with you, we're with Israel. None of us is alone. Thank you so much. Toda rabba Shabbat. Thank you.